So before I begin, I would like to say that if some of you have seen me not tweet in the past number of hours or whatever, or whenever you happen to watch this video, I am currently appealing a suspension from Twitter for a tweet that I sent out, and I guess I shouldn't have. So I was asked to delete the tweet. I did, and they told me that my account would be restored in 7 days. But I can make an appeal. So I did. I pleaded my case and everything, and hopefully they will hear it, and I will be back on Twitter soon enough. I guess I just need to watch what I say, though bottom line is I need to be careful with what I say, or at least how I word some things. But, I tend to be pretty outspoken. So I guess maybe I just need to tamp that down. But I just wanted to explain that to you. However, I am John Ritlin. This is Unpopular Wrestling Opinion, episode 25. And today's topic is about Seth Rollins and how he is not the answer to being the top guy in WWE. He can't be. He can't. They have tried. They have tried. And through some fault of Rollins, but mainly the fault of WWE booking, they have pretty much made it where Seth can work with the top talent. He can work really, really hard and be in the main event scene, but he cannot be the guy. Now, you could argue that WWE can't be just focused on one singular person anymore, since it's really about the brand and everything. But Seth could have been the absolute, best performer they had and been the top guy and been everywhere and all this stuff, and he wouldn't be getting backlash. Part of it is Seth kind of maybe, opening his mouth on Twitter when he shouldn't, but whatever, he is his own person, even if I don't agree with stuff he said. But also, he cannot get the most out of every feud. And yes, very few performers can, but if you're the top guy, you should be able to do that. Now, again, some of it is on WWE creative and booking him like shit, or giving him some really, really shit booking in some of these feuds. And I'm going to get into some of that stuff. I want to say I'm a big fan of Seth Rollins as far as being a performer. His promos are here and there. Some of them have been very, very good. Some of them have been pretty shit. And again, that could be chalked up to the scripting. I'm a big fan of Seth Rollins. Yes, I own his shirt, but I've also praised him plenty on, the Raw, the SmackDown reviews, whatever reviews he's been at, the pay-per-view reviews, any stuff. I've made sure to praise Seth Rollins because the guy is incredible in the ring. But he cannot be the top guy. I fully expect a shit ton of hate for this. But I'd like to explain why. I'm not going to focus on his time in Ring of Honor when he was Tyler Black or his time in FCW. I'm going to focus from his debut with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns as the Shield, and I'm going to skip over some stuff about that, but I'm mainly going to go through his singles run. This does not, however, mean that I hate Seth Rollins in any way, shape, or form. I'm just giving my opinion on it. So, just saying that right off the bat. So, we go with the Shield debut. They debuted Survivor Series to take out Ryback. They helped CM Punk retain his championship. They had that match at TLC 2012. Great match, debut match. We all thought that the Shield was going to lose. Nope, they ended up going on an undefeated streak for a while. And then that ended on SmackDown of all episodes, and of all shows when SmackDown was taped. It wasn't SmackDown Live. There were reasons for that I'm not going to go into, but basically Undertaker ended up getting injured and this kind of stuff, and they blame them even though I don't think it was their fault. Injuries just happened, but okay. We then go with that. We go with the Shield. Rollins really stepped his game up in 2014, especially in that feud with Evolution, or the Orton, Batista, Triple H version. I mean, Ric Flair wasn't an active performer anymore. Thank God, because he was about 65 by that point. But I digress. With Rollins, they then did the Plan B thing. He turned on Dean Ambrose, smashed Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns with chairs. Okay, good start. You want to have Seth Rollins be a heel? Yeah, he could work as a heel. The thing is he can be organically likable on TV, but they screwed that up, and don't worry, I'll get to that. Then he wins Money in the Bank. The problem is after that, yes, he feuds with Dean Ambrose, and they had the Lumberjack match. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Then they had the Hell in a Cell match. It wasn't all that good, and the weird spoopy lantern thing they did with Bray Wyatt, which wasn't all, it was fucking ridiculous. That feud didn't really fire like I think they expected, and honestly, I would call the Dean Ambrose Seth Rollins feuds kind of flops. 2015 was decent, but anyway, the whole point is while I think they worked well together, I don't think they worked as well together as WWE thought they would. And it's no fault of either guy. It didn't quite fire as well as I think they wanted. But Rollins is still the Money in the Bank winner, or the briefcase holder. He gets a great performance out of Brock and John Cena in that triple threat match at Royal Rumble 2015. In a great match. It honestly was a great match. And they're building up the whole thing where even though Rollins has lost plenty of matches, it makes the cash in more, more shocking and everything. It actually doesn't do that. But anyway, we then get him cashing in at WrestleMania 31. Basically saving the goddamn show because nobody wanted to see Reigns and Lesnar fight out for the title after a while. Even though that match was better than I expected it to be, I still don't think it was all that good. But Rollins wins. He, first person to cash into Mania is holding the title aloft. Big pomp and circumstance. Okay, he's a heel, but you know what? Fans cheered for him. We could slowly morph this and maybe start to make him a babyface. Nope, we're going to give him real shit booking and some feuds that weren't all that good. He faced off against Randy Orton, I believe, later that month at Extreme Rules. Or whatever the pay-per-view was. I think it was Extreme Rules. And the match wasn't all that good. And then he had that feud with Dean Ambrose, which it should have worked, again, better than it did. But the problem is the 2014 one kind of got dragged on. And yeah, with all TV and all that stuff and everything, and the booking and all that, it just didn't fire as well as they expected. Sure, you had that one match and Dean Ambrose took the title even though he didn't win it. You had the ladder match, which was a pretty good ladder match. But then they kind of just totally dropped that. He had the feud with Cena and, became the US and WWE champion. Okay, then he faced off against Sting at Night of Champions. Some people blame Seth for what happened to Sting. Sting doesn't blame Seth, but whatever. Some fans are going to do that. I'm biased towards some people as well, so I get it. I don't think that I don't think Seth injured Sting intentionally, but there are people that are still going to think that. So he's champion. He, he's still having some good matches. And then the knee injury. It's not his fault. Injuries happen. It was catastrophic. Because you could argue that he might have lost the championship at Survivor Series 2015. They were going to crown Roman Reigns the champion, then probably have Sheamus beat him and then do the whole thing they did at TLC anyway. But the Rollins injury kind of threw that out the window, and then he had Ambrose Reigns and that kind of stuff and all that. And then they made Reigns champion twice. And one time he held it for 6 weeks, and then they did that. Okay, so you go from the injury. He's rehabbing everything. He wanted to come back at WrestleMania 32. It didn't work. It's a shame because I would like to have seen that match with Triple H happen then, because you could have had it where Triple H was giving up on Rollins because he couldn't take the pressure and everything. Okay, well that didn't happen. It's not Seth Rollins' fault. All right. He shows up after Roman Reigns beat Triple H at WrestleMania 32. And then Seth Rollins shows up right after Extreme Rules after Reigns retained over AJ Styles. And then what happened? He gets a huge reaction, hits a pedigree. People are freaking overjoyed. They're happy to see Seth Rollins back. I was happy to see Seth Rollins back. Build it up and make him a babyface. They didn't fucking do that. This is on WWE as much as it is on Seth Rollins. They fucking torpedoed him right there. The next night on Raw, when he was getting the crowd adulation and then burned the crowd down, hence the shirt. When he burned down that reaction, it took all the wind out of the sails. It took all the wind out of the sails. While Seth was still a great performer in the ring, and still is, don't get me wrong, it took everything out of Seth. It just made Seth the samey guy and they didn't allow the fans to organically turn Rollins babyface. And then did the Universal title thing where, the creation of the Universal title and he lost to Finn Balor. Finn Balor was the inaugural champion and had the shoulder injury and that kind of stuff. And then, soon after that, they had that match where Kevin Owens was made the Universal champion when Triple H turned on Seth Rollins. And okay, we're going to build up that feud. And then Rollins faces off against Kevin Owens and there's a whole bunch of big schmas at Hell in a Cell. That didn't necessarily work. There was stuff that could have worked about this. But he was torpedoed and nothing was working for him at that point. As good as he was, nothing was working for him. So, once again, while it's on Seth, it's also on creative. They had him, they seem to be building up this whole thing where it's going to be him facing Triple H. He wanted to get his hands on Triple H. Well, then Samoa Joe attacks him. That kind of thing happened where it looked like a knee injury knee injury might keep Rollins out. His knee got tweaked. Fortunately, he seemed to be okay, or they were playing it up. I'm not really sure. They might have been playing it up, but who knows? Thank God Seth Rollins was okay. He did show up at that one takeover, I believe before the Rumble. I think it was Takeover San Antonio. Showed up and was confronting Triple H and everything. Oh, this show's called TakeOver. He wants Triple H because he knows Triple H is back there. That didn't necessarily work, but okay. Whatever. It was a big reaction. But this feud felt like it had already passed, even though they were trying their best to do it. What didn't help was what followed at WrestleMania 33. Seth Rollins should have not had that long of a match with Triple H. That match was way too long, way too drawn out. I'm not saying it should have been boom, boom, boom. You should have beat him in like 5 minutes. It would have been kind of funny, but the long, drawn-out match did do no favors for Seth. And from there, he wasn't able to do anything that, well, afterwards. I mean, he wasn't a champion. He wasn't any of the stuff. I'm not saying he wasn't in the mix. I'm not saying he didn't have good matches. But everything was kind of that kind of stuff. It didn't really work. It ultimately did not really work. And then, Lesnar was the Universal Champion. You had that stuff going on, everything. They did the thing with Lesnar and Reigns. Rollins' time kind of just was here and there, and it didn't really work. It just felt like afterwards they kind of just flatlined, not necessarily flatlined on him, but just a lot of it just didn't work. And it wasn't that good. It wasn't that 2017 was bad, because he was still pulling out great performances. But then you get to 2018. Okay, he has he's out still giving some great matches. Has that great point where right before the Elimination Chamber where he lasted over an hour in the ring. Okay, now finally about a year and a half afterwards, you're starting to build Seth back up. You're starting to give him some chances to do all these great things. And then the Elimination Chamber, he still has a good performance. Okay, and then he wins the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. And then he had a great match with Miz at Backlash 2018. And then had that feud with Elias where Elias should have won the title. And then maybe Seth could have won it back a month later, but at least Elias would have won a championship. No, then they had him enter a feud with Dolph Ziggler, where Ziggler won the title. Ziggler, who hadn't meant anything in months, they put on some great matches, but no one cared. No one fucking cared. Or at least vast majority of people didn't care. So then Seth is Intercontinental Champion. And then Dean Ambrose had come back, right before SummerSlam. And he's there, and he's having, and, Rollins is still having some great performances. And then the whole thing with Reigns' leukemia is unfortunate leukemia. Reigns did not fake his leukemia. You guys are fucking idiots if you think he did. But then, Dean turns on Rollins, and they try the Rollins and Ambrose feud again, and it didn't fucking work. It could have, except they made Ambrose, all this. They made Ambrose get shots in his ass, and the fans were disgusting, and it didn't work. It didn't work. And then they feud over the Intercontinental title, and Ambrose won the Intercontinental title from him and then dropped Bobby Lashley soon after. Rollins, by this point, was kind of Yeah, he won the Royal Rumble, which was good, but not great. But they were building up with Rollins against Lesnar. And now he beats him at Mania. They do the whole build-up thing, and I mean, I sort of bought into it, but I sort of didn't, because I was over Lesnar at that point, and Rollins had even started to cool off to me. But okay, I just wanted to see the title on Raw again, full time. So Rollins wins. It was a brawl in the beginning or before the match even started, and then that, and he wins the title. Cool, okay, whatever. He wins it through dubious methods, but whatever. Brock kind of had it coming with all the stuff that he did, and then Seth was Universal Champion, and all his title reigns have basically been pretty fucking lame. I mean, if we're going to be perfectly honest, and I even totally forgot in 2016. When he won the championship, when Reigns got suspended, and then Dean Ambrose, cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase right after that. So he had all 3 members of the Shield as champion in one night, and all that. But anyway, we then look at, we then go, to the whole Universal title run, and is bringing us up to speed on this. Nothing about Seth Rollins' Universal title reign was interesting. Now, you could say that's because of who he feuded with. I mean, sorry. The match that he had with AJ Styles was pretty goddamn good. Some people were down on it. I loved it. That feud he had with Baron Corbin, it did nothing for Seth. Sure, he hit him with a chair over and over. This kind of stuff. It didn't work. It didn't fucking work. And now you have Seth fighting Brock Lesnar again for the Universal title after Brock, cashed in Money in the Bank and F5'd him and beat him at, Extreme Rules just a couple days ago. So I'm filming this right in case you guys don't see this for a bit. I am filming this after, a couple days after Extreme Rules. The reason I'm running this stuff down is, yes, a lot of it is on the booking, but also a lot of it is on Seth. You can have the best talent in the world, but if they can't pull out something decent with some of these feuds, in most of these feuds, maybe they're not the top guy. Now, I would like to offer or pass a question on to you guys. Do you think that Seth can be a top guy or the top guy? Because I think performance-wise, he's goddamn good. But I don't think that he can be the elite babyface they need him to be because they torpedoed him a lot. And fans remember that stuff. Does he still get big reactions? Absolutely he does. Can he put on great performances? Absolutely he can. And then there's this whole dynamic of Becky Lynch, the thing with him and Becky, which I don't know if you know, guys, but they're dating. I know. I'm sorry I had to reveal this to you. I probably blew your minds. But yes, him and Becky are dating. That didn't do any favors for him either. Now, I mean, great for them. I'm happy for them. If they're happy, whatever. But the whole way the relationship was pushed, it didn't fun. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked at all. And drug down Seth Rollins' title run. It drug down Becky's run. And I mean, that feud with Lacey, people can feel however the fuck they want about that. Both feuds could have worked, and it just didn't. It just didn't. WWE just hit us over the head with the fact that they were dating. I mean, the subtle hints at first, except for the fact they weren't subtle, they were as subtle as a sledgehammer or a meat cleaver to the head. I've watched too many slasher movies. But WWE is to blame for how Seth is viewed. And even though he is great in the ring, WWE is to blame for it with how they have booked him, and they have screwed it up a lot. And then Seth's Twitter game and the whole thing, the exchange he said to Will Ospreay, who I'm not the biggest fan of personally either, as good as Will Ospreay is, it made Seth seem petty and ridiculous. And Ospreay, don't get me wrong, seemed just as petty with it. But Seth cannot be the guy. He can be a guy. He can be one of the top guys. But he cannot be the top guy. The last couple years have proved that. Now, that's just my opinion. I would love to pass it on to you and let me know what you guys think in the comments. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave and do all that stuff. I will update you guys with every single review that I do. I will have some other New Japan reviews and stuff like that coming up. I'll update you if I get unsuspended from Twitter sooner. Otherwise, you won't be able to hear from me until Wednesday, but it is what it is. So anyway, I'll see you soon.